Hi, my name is Kevin Thomas, W1DED. Today I'm here with a return guest, Tim Duffy, K3LR. He barely needs an introduction. He's well known in the ham radio community, and particularly in the contesting community, and that's why he's here today. Contest University is just around the corner on May 15th. I'm going to be attending. I hope you are too, and Tim's here to tell us about it. Welcome, Tim.
Thanks for having me today, Kevin. We're really excited about Contest University this year.
So before we get into this year, tell me how this all got started. I don't know if it was maybe mid-2000s that you decided to start this, but what was the genesis of you sitting around one day saying, hey, we ought to have this Contest University in Dayton, Ohio?
You know, that is a great question, and it doesn't get asked often enough as far as because I love telling the story. Back in the 90s and maybe even the late 80s, hams contesters would get together in New England with the Yankee Clipper Contest Club. They would get together in their homes and have these mini contest gatherings where they would share ideas. And then as I got more and more involved in Dayton, you know, I started going when I was a kid in the 70s and 80s. I mean, Dayton was the place where I could find guys in the know, and you know, the luminaries that really knew what was going on in building stations and operating contests, and I could ask questions, but that was only for 2 nights. It was only for Friday night and Saturday night at Hamvention, and it was only a couple of hours, and I was just a kid. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anybody, and so finding out information like when to run Europeans on 40 meters and how to stack Yagis and all these things. And I said, you know, this could take years to learn this stuff. There was no internet. You know, I was running up long distance phone bills, and I was getting on the air and talking to guys and trying to learn just everything I could, but there really weren't books on this thing. Back in the early 2000s, the Potomac Valley Radio Club put together contesting seminars where they had a day long, and that is one of the premier contest clubs. It encompasses Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, and these guys would get together for a one-day session. They actually made a CD and had, you know, recorded the thing, and it was really good. And I said, you know, they're on to something. And so what I did was basically take the ideas that were really created by the YCCC and PVRC and said, let's bring it to Dayton, Ohio. Let's put it in conjunction with Hamvention so that if you're making the trip already to Hamvention, all you have to do is come a day earlier. You can pull from everybody in the U.S. and around the world. Turns out we have attendees that are coming from 15 different countries now. In 2007, I kind of ran the numbers on this, and I said, you know, if I can get 100 people to show up, we can break even. And so that was the goal, Kevin. And I, at that time, I knew enough guys that I could convince to come and teach that were subject matter experts in various areas of operating and station building. And I talked them into coming. I said, I'll pay for your hotel room one night, you know, and boom, they showed up, and 150 people showed up. So then we were off and running, and it has been running full steam ever since. We peaked just before COVID at 350 attendees, and then during COVID, we ran Contest University online, and that had 3,000 attendees, and the playback of the recordings, whether they be from the in-person meetings that we had in Dayton or from the COVID years, have been impressive. Over 10,000 playbacks. And then, you know, Contest University spread. It's been in the United Kingdom several times, in Italy. I've taught in Italy twice, been in Brazil, it's been in Russia, it's been in Australia. So it's become a worldwide way of sharing contesting ideas.
Well, it certainly resonates with me because, as you know, I've only been back in the hobby for 2 or 3 years now. And in order to learn anything about contesting, it's one phone call at a time. Really not a lot of people local that I could reach out to. But the other aspect I think that you're not addressing yet is that when you're together at Contest University, you're also having the conversation after the seminar. You're having the dialogue and the camaraderie in between sessions. And I have found that to be invaluable. The little bits of information that come out of being able to talk to somebody in person and take the learning just that one step further. So I suspect that's part of the success. When you go to Xenia, when you go to the Hope Hotel, you get to listen to the seminars, but you also get to talk to Randy Thompson during the break.
That is so true and so important, Kevin. And the fact that you get to ask questions not only during those sessions, but during the breaks, during lunch, in the hospitality suites afterwards. But it is like a ham cram or a contest cram because you get so much information. It's like drinking out of a fire hose. But you get Randy Thompson's email address, Kevin, afterwards. And so now you have a friend. And even if you've only been in the contesting part of the hobby a few years, but you have a question, you have W3LPL's email address, you have K5ZD's email address, and now you have a relationship.
Well, the thing that I've seen also with the contest crew that I run on a nearly weekly basis, it's the little bit of information that comes up after the question was answered. It's not necessarily part of the curriculum per se or the answer to the immediate question, but are those tidbits that I think come naturally to you and to Dan Craig N6MJ and to Chris KL9A. They're so normal to your operation that you don't think about it unless you're in the middle of that conversation. So I think it's great that you're able to get people together and have the formalized learning, but also the informal conversations. One of the things I'm curious about, Tim, is how the Contest University has evolved over the years. I understand from an attendance it's evolved, but how has the actual curriculum evolved, and how have the attendees evolved?
Well, we're actually coming up on 20 years of doing this, which it has been a very quick 20-year deal, being that we started, in 2007. So we're getting close to that, and it has evolved on its own. And what I have done, Kevin, is every year we ask for feedback on the feedback forum. And so we get a lot of information in that. Also emails during the years. Hey, I'd like to learn this. I'd like to see this. Hey, there might be an opportunity here. And then what I also do is I go out to find talent, whether it be at Visalia, whether it be at W9DXCC. W9DXCC is a really great platform for a lot of the local W9s that get together, talk about DXing and contesting. And last year when I attended in September, AB9YC, Anthony was there. He gave a tremendous presentation. And I said, Anthony, would you come to Contest University and give this presentation to the contesters there? And he said, absolutely. Another new guy this year is W6SX. Hank, he's given presentations in Visalia. He's a tremendous speaker, and he's got a great story to tell about CW contesting. So he's brand new for this year. So that's how you keep it fresh, is that I keep my ears open. And what you're doing with the W1DED podcasts and video casts, I'm always looking at who you're interviewing and what their story is. Another great story that I found through looking at contest results for state QSO parties is Jim, AD4EB, who is going to be a first-time professor this year, and he's going to talk about mobile contesting. And he went out and beat some really good competition in the Ohio QSO party. He's on for the Tennessee QSO party, the Florida QSO party. So that's a whole different pillar of the contesting spectrum in QSO parties and mobile contesting. So we are trying to be all things to all people contest-wise.
So I had said earlier that you don't need an introduction, and I don't really believe you do. I think most people know who Tim Duffy, K3LR. But I'm looking at those plaques behind your shoulder, and I think people need to understand that you're not just running Contest University. You're a diehard contester with a lot of wins behind your name. Just give me real quickly a summary of what has happened there at K3LR in Pennsylvania.
So even before I built this station, which started in 1987, I was doing, I had smaller stations. I was guest stopping. I managed to get myself a single op guest op at K3TUP up in Erie, Pennsylvania, where K3UA had operated. K5ZD had won CQ Worldwide from there. And I actually won 2 single op ARRL phone contests for the U.S. from there back to back. And it was just when computer logging was starting. In 1987, I started building here with 2 towers at K3LR, and then Randy Thompson and I, we went through the sweepstakes wars of Western Pennsylvania, where we both had stations that were like-sized here in Western PA, and we competed heavy. Also, K3UA was in there, and so Randy and I got to be even better friends than we were doing those competitions within the section. But never won sweepstakes. Neither of us did from here, although Randy was very successful in sweepstakes from Texas. The bottom line was there was a lot of contesting going on here. The 10-meter contest, the 160-meter contest. But in 1992, N3RA, my very good friend Scott, convinced me that, hey, we ought to build a multi-multi here. And I said, Scott, we don't have enough equipment. We don't have enough antennas. He said, we'll find it. And he would bring over his chairs and all his station and everything. And we set up a multi-multi in 1992. And I got to tell you, it was very hard those first 10 years to recruit people, because I was recruiting on a dream. In 1992, when I was nearing completion of this, I had 2 very prominent multi-multi station owners who said, I don't know why you're doing that. You'll never win. And you've heard me tell that story, Kevin. And of course, I put that up on the locker. That's something that I still remember today. Anytime that I even come to think that we might want to turn down the wick on this thing. But so it's been a great ride. There have been 200 different operators that have operated from here. We have shared some tremendous memories. And of course, you really captured a lot of what went on just here recently with the WPX contest. So all those things have helped drive what Contest University has become. That's a long answer to that question. That, as the operators have come and gone here, as we've done single ops and multi-ops and various different types of contesting, all that goes into the mix to try and give back through Contest University.
I'm not going to let you pass over the recent success so quickly. This was the CQ WPX phone contest, multi from K3LR. You were out to beat the old, I think, NQ4I US record, which you're going to correct me, but might have been around 30 million points, and you actually came in at 58 million points. Congratulations. That's amazing.
It is amazing, and it surprised me. I thought, if everything fell together, we would be able to break the record. And Kevin, if you're going out to break the record, you have to break it by a comfortable margin, because during log checking, there will be a reduction. And we're really fortunate to have operators here that are really careful about copying call signs and copying the exchanges correctly. But you still do lose. But you never know what sort of conditions you're going to get. And then you have an unbelievable crew out at ND7K. And, and hey, if we get a solar flare, or we get some conditions that favor Arizona or disenfranchise Western Pennsylvania from the standpoint of propagation, then you never know what can happen. But as Randy points out, the score just keeps going very quickly once you start adding all these multipliers and the QSO points. And I got to tell you, we had a ball. We had a great time. We had 15 very dedicated super operators here. They had 18 operators out at ND7K. We had a chat going on WhatsApp between the teams. I don't know that I've ever had so much fun in a multi ever.
Well, that's a big statement from someone like you. So clearly you're the right guy to be leading Contest University. Tell us what you have in store for us on May 15th.
As I talked about, whether it's mobile contesting or beginning in contesting or, state QSO parties and youth, Katie, KE8LQR is back for her second year. She's got, one of the great things is I get to see all the slides before the presentations are given at Contest University, because the textbook, Terry has been working very hard on getting the textbook all together. It looks beautiful. It's chock full of information that you can use year after year after year as you're enjoying contesting. And Kevin, you won't believe the room, the W3LPL, when Frank gets up and talks, and he goes wire to wire. I mean, he's giving 3 individual talks, a Q&A work session. We give him a repeat performance in there. He's busy right from 9 o'clock in the morning all the way until the end there at almost 5 o'clock, when Rob Sherwood comes up at 4 o'clock. But bottom line is, you won't be able to find a seat when Frank Donovan's talking. W3LPL commands the house, and he talks about propagation, he talks about your station, he talks about antennas, he talks about feed lines, and the Q&A, the questions that are asked by the students are just phenomenal, because there isn't a question that I have seen that gets asked of Frank that he can't answer. And I felt really bad. I think it was 5 or 6 years ago, I told Terry, KMNJ, who puts this whole thing together, I said, Terry, we got to give Frank a year off. So we gave him a sabbatical. It was a surprise, and gave him a special award for all of his contributions. But, Rob Sherwood he also commands the house when he gives that presentation at the end. And it's sort of like at the end of the NCAA basketball tournament, and I look forward to One Shining Moment, on CBS, and everybody looks forward to Rob Sherwood, NC0B, talking about what's going on with the most recent transceivers, receivers, transmitters, and amplifiers. And boy, does he have a great presentation this year. He has been working tirelessly on his slide deck. And so there is something for everybody. And as Jim Scheidler was on one of my social media shows, W5JCS, and he's not a real active contester, he says, I won't miss Contest University because I love what I learn on building my station. So I can enjoy it for DXing or rag chewing, but the ideas and the knowledge that I get from Contest University is just off the charts.
So we have Rob talking about equipment. We have Frank talking about propagation. Give us some more topics and the individuals that will be presenting this year at Contest University. One
of the other things that you've got is Dr. Tamitha Skov is going to talk about the whole sunspot cycle and what's going on, and so you can do some long-range planning, and she is an absolute expert in this area. Also, Mark M0DXR is going to be in the back of the room talking about WRTC 2026. Doug K1DG is there. Randy is there, K5ZD. Michael Coulter, WHCI, gives the introduction to Contest University. And Ray Novak, who has been a sponsor from day one, from 2007, ICOM America, has been a center point sponsor of this. But Doug, K1DG, is doing a whole different deal on the ethics this year, where he's invited additional participants to talk about their amateur radio experience when it comes to contesting and leading by example. So that's a whole different program, and we talked about keeping it fresh. I got to tell you that all of the professors this year have fresh programs and fresh slides. It's it's going to be the best ever. I really do believe that.
So, Tim, as I mentioned, I haven't been there yet. I will be this year. I'm looking forward to it. But you mentioned Mark in the back of the room. How exactly is this structured? Are they, I guess I was presuming they're all, 45-minute to an hour presentations, one after another. But are there, when you said Mark is in the back of the room, is he doing something somewhere else?
No, he presented last year, which was a great presentation. And he'll be presenting next year as well. But I wanted you to know, and wanted everybody else to know, Kevin, that WRTC 2026, Mark and Lee G0MTN will be there to answer questions. So during the breaks, during lunch, there are other people involved, so that they don't necessarily have a presentation to give this year, but they're there to answer questions or give guidance on anything related to WRTC 2026.
I'm also curious about the mix of contesters in the room. I presume, I know this because I talked to a lot of them, that there'll be several veteran experienced contesters in the room. How many new contesters, or what I would call intermediate contesters, are there?
That is a great question, and it's something that I ask for a show of hands every year. How many in the room, this is the first time you've come to Contest University. And typically, it's in the 50 to 60% area of these are new folks that are coming for the first time. A lot of them are just getting started in contesting, or they've had other interests in the ham radio hobby, and now they want to, just see what this is all about. They've maybe heard good things. If you go to contestuniversity.com, you can see video presentations from the past. All of the slide decks are up there for free. You can download them. Part of the deal is I always ask the students to go out and take this information to their local clubs and to share it. It's all free on the website. Share it. Show the videos at your local club as a program to, just get the word out. And there's a lot of hints and kinks here for field day operations too. So it's not just about DX contests or sweepstakes or the WPX contests. It's about, having fun with field day, and having fun is less frustration and more knowledge.
Speaking of the fun, if you're into contesting, it's not just about Contest University, I presume. I think that there's some social opportunities. There's a dinner. Tell us what else is available to contesters that may want to go to Dayton this year.
If you're thinking about coming to Dayton, and you really should, to Hamvention, the great, one of the things that you try to do is to get a hotel room at the Hope Hotel. It's sold out, but there are guys that are canceling all the time. And so if you call the hotel and they get a cancellation, you can get a room there. But there's a lot of guys that don't have rooms there that come every night. And so the fun really starts on Wednesday night, which is the night before Contest University. And we have the Super Suite. And you go to contestsupersuite.com, and all the activities and all the times are there. There's a free pizza party sponsored by Contest University on Wednesday night. Just go to the website, and maybe you can insert that into the final recording as well, Kevin. But then on Thursday is Contest University. Thursday night, the Super Suite is open again, and there's another pizza party, at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and the pizza goes fast. It's free pizza, so you want to get there right on time. And then, of course, Friday is Hamvention, and then Friday night is the Super Suite is open again, the Top Band Dinner, and you can go to topbanddinner.com for tickets and information there, is Friday night. And also Friday night, this could be the final, we think it's the final time you can see the Spurious Emissions Band. And if you've never seen them before, you got to see them. It's going to be in the big ballroom. It's all parodies, ham singing, led by Ward Silver, N0AX. They just added David, N6AN, to the band. W4PA is in the band. KX9X is in the band. And your stomach hurts from laughing because it is so much fun. That's going to start at 9:30 on Friday night in the Super Suite. And then, of course, Saturday is Hamvention, and the contest forum is Saturday afternoon, which is hosted by Doug Grant, K1DG. There's also, don't forget about the digital forum hosted by Ed, W0YK, digital contesting. And the antenna forum I do on Friday afternoon at Hamvention. We've got 4 really strong papers this year for the antenna forum on Friday afternoon. All of the details of these things are on contestsupersuite.com. You can see the whole layout of all the time, so you don't miss anything. And then Saturday night is really a special time at the contest dinner, Kevin. 500 people will gather together. K3LR, John Doerr is the MC. Our featured speaker is Chris, KL9A, and I can't wait to hear his talk. He'll be there. Dan will be there, N6MJ, and it's also the induction of the Contest Hall of Fame members for 2025, which is really, really special. Special evening for those members being inducted, and also for Hall of Fame members that are attending, coming back to the contest dinner. And there are door prizes. $15,000-$20,000 worth of prizes will be given away at the contest dinner. So we're excited about it. It is the fastest 4 days you're going to ever have in your life, Kevin, because when you get on the bus on Wednesday, and you go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, by Sunday morning you're ready to go home. And speaking of the bus, we run bus service right out to Hamvention from the Hope Hotel. So if you're staying at the Hope Hotel, you get on the bus, and the bus takes you right to the front door of Hamvention. You don't have to fight the traffic. You don't have to worry about parking. So we have bus service thanks to Contest University and Hamvention. We partnered with DARA, the Dayton Amateur Radio Association, to offer that bus service. So we really try hard to share with our friends and have a great time with this contesting hobby.
So Tim, ever since I started my YouTube channel and I started interviewing contesters, and then when I started the contest crew, I've been getting emails from people that are new to contesting, or they're dabbling, but they're very interested. After listening to people like yourself and the contest crew, they're gaining an interest in contesting. What would be your best pitch at why people should get involved with contesting?
I think it dovetails into the public service part of what we're doing. Anytime we have some of these disasters, whether they be in North Carolina and Tennessee, or down in Puerto Rico, down in the Caribbean, the ability to communicate with those disaster areas quickly, efficiently, and accurately are best done by seasoned contesters. That, you can't just jump into an emergency situation and expect to be well-oiled and ready to go. But I'll tell you what, you put Randy Thompson or Chris Herbert, KL9A, N6MJ, W9KKN between, an emergency situation, and you want somebody to copy it fast, copy it efficiently, copy it in the noise, copy it accurately, and get the communication through. I got to tell you, it's going to be a contester. So that's why contesting is important. You want to be able to efficiently communicate with your antennas, with your radio systems, with switching, with amplifiers. A contester figures that out, because if he wants to do well in a contest, he's got to have a good station. He's got to have an efficient station. It might only be a 100-watt station with a dipole or a vertical, but he's going to figure it out, and that's the kind of guy that you want when it comes to disaster communications and public service within the hobby. So that's why contesting matters.
You said it well, Tim. I am really looking forward to seeing you in Xenia at the Dayton Hamvention this year. Is there any final thing you'd like to add before we close up?
Just go to those websites. ContestSuperSuite.com really gives you all of the details of the activities. Don't forget about signing up for Contest University. We still have some seats left. We're getting close to the end of that sign-up period, so now's the time. The top band dinner and the contest dinner, both of those dinners still have tickets. The top band dinner, W2GD is going to be the speaker. John is a tremendous contester and also 160 enthusiast. So there's lots to do, lots to have fun, lots to learn. Come and meet some new friends and get involved.
You heard it. This is Tim Duffy, K3LR. You'll meet him at the Contest University and also at the Dayton Hamvention in Xenia, if that's confusing. It started in Dayton. It's continued the name, the Dayton Hamvention, but it actually takes place in Xenia, Ohio. Tim, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. We'll see you in Xenia.